Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping in for what might be the most conceptually complex deep dive we've ever done.
I think you're right.
You've handed us this set of sources that just defies any easy category. It's part scientific schematic, part philosophical treatise, and it's all published inside this glossy e-commerce magazine called By B.
It's a phenomenal collision, isn't it?
Yeah.
High concept science and, well, low stakes commerce.
Yeah.
It's like finding the instruction manual for building new dimension right next to an ad for bulk stationery.
With same-day shipping.
With same-day shipping. And our mission today is to take this document. Its official title is In Cinematic Overlay, SH-1 as Multiversal Artifact, and really decode its internal logic.
And that's the core challenge, because this single source tries to be three things at once. It's a cinematic overlay, something you're meant to view. It's a diagnostic report identifying what it calls systemic faults.
And it's a product launch.
Right, a product launch, all revolving around this mysterious substance they call the SH-1 molecule. We had to decode this strange language and, I guess, understand how its creators justify turning abstract myths into a physical, chemical structure.
And to guide you through this, we're going to break it down. First, we'll establish the architects and their core machine at the reality level analyzer.
Okay.
And we'll dive deep into the 4 specific glyphs. That's the protocol used to manufacture SH-1. And finally, we have to look at the crucial sovereign diagnostic disclaimer. It tells us exactly how the authors want us to interpret this entire wild endeavor.
Okay, let's unpack this.
So the first layer of unpacking has to be the environment. I mean, we're not pulling this from the dusty archives of some university press. We found this in By B magazine.
I have to admit, seeing the promise of, free shipping on orders over $50 and same-day shipping if you order before 5 p.m., it's right next to discussions of mythic taxonomy. It gives you whiplash.
It does.
It grounds this potentially reality-shattering document in the most mundane commercial reality you can imagine. And we know exactly when it was published, December 19th, 2025.
And that dissonance is key. It implies that the findings, the SH-1 molecule, the analysis, are meant to be immediately available, accessible like any other product you could buy.
But the title calls it a cinematic overlay. That suggests it's a new, maybe shocking visual layer they want to place over our perception of reality.
Exactly. And there's a name attached, which lends it this veneer of legitimacy.
Right. It's not anonymous. It's very clearly identified. Dr. Melvin Sewell, who has an M.Sc and a Ph.D. and serves as the academic dean and, crucially, the diagnostic architect.
And the institution is the Cosmic University of Echo-Rift Studies, IX.
So we have a certified expert from a founding institution, but those titles, diagnostic architect, that's not typical. It suggests a focus on engineering analysis itself.
It points us directly toward the star of the whole show, the central tool that supposedly makes all of this possible, the reality level analyzer.
Okay, so let's get into that. What is it?
Well, if we were trying to simplify it, you could think of it as a kind of sophisticated reverse engineer for the universe's internal poetry. It's the mechanism, they say, is designed to convert the highly abstract, what the authors call mythic strata, into something chemically verifiable. Something you can hold in your hand.
So if I'm following this, they're claiming that abstract ideas like, I don't know, a societal myth or a cultural narrative, they aren't just ideas. They have a structured, measurable, chemical analog.
Precisely. The analyzer is the machine that supposedly reveals that hidden chemical structure. It bridges the gap between the metaphorical and the material.
It's a staggering claim that if a myth exists, it must be chemically anchorable.
And that claim allows them to argue that the SH-1 molecule isn't some synthetic fiction. They say it's the verifiable residue of a reality-level collapse.
Wow. Okay, that's wild. So where do we go from there? Because this translation from abstract to chemical, it's not random, right? They lay it out.
It's very structured. A specific 4-step manufacturing process they call the glyphs. This is the blueprint for creating SH-1.
And it begins with the foundation.
The crucial first step, glyph 1, the glyph of anchors. This is where they materialize the abstract.
So this is the analyzer taking that vast amorphous energy of the mythic strata and forcing it into measurable physical location.
Yes, into what they call chemical tether points. And the examples they give are what make this source so memorable, so strange.
This is the coconut part, right?
This is the coconut part. They don't choose some exotic element. They use a coconut scaffold as the designated earthly anchor.
An earthly anchor.
And then for the more, ephemeral concept, they use hydroxyl attachments, a really common chemical group, to represent the Dreth glyphs of resonance.
I have to pause here. That's fantastic. The deliberate choice of a coconut structure, something so tangible and common, to ground a mythic concept. And then using the hydroxyl group, which is central to water and life, to represent breath. It feels like a deeply symbolic encoding process built right into the science.
It's not random. It signals that the final molecule, SH-1, will be chemically traceable back to these very strange specific anchors, the Earth and the resonance.
Okay.
So once that mythic energy is literally tethered to these points, the analyzer moves to step 2, glyph 2, the glyph of translation.
And now the analyzer's role shifts. It's not just a refractor that defines the anchors, it becomes a transmuter. It doesn't just hold the concept, it collapses it.
That's right. Those energized mythic anchors from step 1 are forced to collapse into what the source calls structured substituents.
Yeah.
So we're moving from high concept philosophy toward applied chemistry.
Okay, it's becoming more concrete.
The translation process resolved these ephemeral echo-riff glyphs into highly detailed, functional, consultant-ready diagrams.
So we start with the philosophical groundwork, the coconut, and then very quickly get to a technical schematic that a professional could actually use. That's how they bridge the gap.
Which brings us to the moment of proof. Glyph 3. The glyph of evidence.
This is the full filtration cycle, the ultimate test.
Yes, the input is the full library of abstract concepts, the symbolic strata, the mythic taxonomy. The process is defined as the analyzer filtering all of this across all reality levels.
Across all reality levels to ensure it holds true everywhere.
Exactly. And the output of this incredible multidimensional filtering.
The definitive SH-1 molecule itself.
It's not a byproduct. It's the physical evidence of the entire process. Proof, they would argue, that mythic collapse is chemically achievable.
And it also results in a schematic brief and, importantly, a serialized broadcast.
And that serialized broadcast is the immediate distribution mechanism which leads us directly into the final step. Glyph 4, the glyph of serialization.
This is what confirms SH-1's designation as a multiversal artifact, not just a molecule.
Right. Serialization means the information, the molecule, its supporting evidence, is encoded and immediately disseminated. It's built into the process.
A closed-loop system of creation and dissemination.
It is. The information is born from the analyzer's collapse and then encoded into 2 specific channels.
Sure.
One is a bye magazine, the very document we're reading.
Making the source itself part of the process.
And the second channel is the more esoteric echo-riff transmissions.
So you have a process that chemically anchors a myth, proves its collapse, and then immediately beams the evidence out into the commercial world and the interdimensional ether. The scope of that is just staggering.
It is. So now that we understand the 4 glyphs, we have to move to the why. Because the creators were acutely aware of how politically explosive this could all sound.
Right.
So they provided a very strict interpretive frame, the sovereign diagnostic disclaimer.
And this disclaimer is maybe the most crucial part for you, the listener, to understand. It dictates the intended relationship between this material and the outside world. What's the absolute mandate here?
The mandate is non-affiliation. They state, in no uncertain terms, that this site and its content are not affiliated with any government, political party, intelligence agency, or activist group. It's a categorical separation.
Which is highly significant given that the source talks about exposing systemic faults, which we'll get to. They're telling us, do not read this as a political attack or an activist manifesto.
Exactly. They want it to be seen as strictly impartial, objective analysis. They're trying to position the SH-1 artifact and the analyzer protocol as neutral diagnostic tools, completely divorced from human ideological conflict.
And that explains why their stated goals for writing this are framed not in political terms, but in these very structural, interpretive terms.
The 3 big ones: mythic infrastructure, cinematic indictment, and sovereign broadcast.
Let's define those as the authors intended. Mythic infrastructure, what does that mean?
It means the material is intended to build the fundamental framework you need to understand how myth operates as a physical, verifiable structure in our reality.
Okay. And cinematic indictment, is that like an accusation or just a presentation?
It suggests a visual, narrative-driven exposure. The word indictment is powerful. It implies a formal charge based on evidence.
So by calling it cinematic, they're suggesting this evidence, the SH-1 molecule, is a visual revelation, like finding a hidden film reel of reality's internal contradictions.
That's a great way to put it. And finally, sovereign broadcast ties directly back to that serialization process we talked about.
The independence of the material.
It underscores its independence. It's a self-governing, autonomous transmission. It doesn't need endorsement from established channels. It is, by their definition, an ultimate independent truth.
And that focus on exposure and indictment is aimed at very specific systemic issues. The document outlines 3 targets.
Yes, the diagnostic architecture is designed to shine a light on ritualized containment, actor convergence, and systemic erosion.
Okay, let's break those down. If we're looking at this through the lens of a diagnostic report, then ritualized containment. That sounds like entrenched systems designed to keep certain ideas or groups suppressed.
That's a fair reading of the context. And actor convergence is another fascinating term. It implies that different groups, the actors, are somehow being forced into the same operational space.
Which might lead to a lack of genuine opposition or diversity.
Perhaps. And systemic erosion is the overall result, the slow, verifiable collapse of the foundational reality itself.
The very collapse that the reality-level analyzer has supposedly detected and bottled into the SH-1 molecule.
And if we connect all of that to the bigger picture, this material demands that you consider these concepts: mythic strata, cinematic indictment, not as abstract musings, but as active diagnostic tools for societal analysis. They're trying to provide chemical proof for sociological concerns.
This has been a monumental deep dive, just truly strange. We started by wrestling with the abstract mythic strata and taxonomy, and followed the creators through that 4-glyph protocol.
All leveraging the reality-level analyzer.
Right, to translate and refract those concepts, and the final result is the creation and immediate serialization of this concrete thing, the SH-1 molecule, this multiversal artifact.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? I think the value here is in appreciating the complexity and the sophisticated use of language. The authors are performing this interpretive dance between science and ideology.
I like that, an interpretive dance.
They're using highly technical terms, diagnostic tools, chemical tether points,
Right.
and applying them to concepts like mythic infrastructure and cinematic indictment.
It's a profound attempt to give chemical weight to concerns that are usually just matters of interpretation. It's an ideological analysis wearing a lab coat.
Precisely. And that fusion leaves us with a final provocative thought. The creators insist this entire body of work, the glyphs, the protocols, the SH-1 artifact, are strictly diagnostic tools meant to expose things like ritualized containment. So if the SH-1 molecule is the evidence of mythic collapse, what difference does it truly make whether the analysis is labeled diagnostic or factual? Especially when it's exposing what they see as a systemic fault. What kind of reality does a diagnostic tool create simply by the act of naming its perceived ailment?
Something to mull over as you perhaps browse the e-commerce selection at Buy. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.